Hello guys, I am here in Moab, Utah. I'm at the O'Reilly Auto Parts and I'm getting ready to do an oil change. This is gonna be super easy because I've got my Valvomax valves in there. I'm gonna show you that. And I'm hoping this goes as smooth as I think it's gonna be, and I think it's gonna be like a 10-minute thing. So let's do this together. So here's where I'm parked. I'm trying to be out of their way here in the back of the store just so I'm not taking up space for their other customers. And I've collected a series of water bottles. I bought a couple of these and I pumped the water into the van, and I found a couple others. So I've got some jugs here to put the old oil in, which then I'm going to recycle that. But as you can see here, I've got the engine bay open. This right here is the oil filter. I have a brand new filter to go in there. I'm not going to open that till I drain the oil off. All right, we go down here under the van, and you can see this right here is my replacement Valvomax drain plug, which then is going to work in conjunction with this tube and the little fitting that goes in there and opens the check valve, and then that is going to feed right through this hole in the skid plate, and that's going to go straight into a bottle. So it's going to make for a super easy and clean way to change my oil. All right, let's try this. I hope you guys can see this. Look how simple this is. It's coming straight out through the hose and down into my water jug. It's gonna allow me to easily contain this and make a quick and easy oil change here in the field. I love it. Right through the skid plate hole. Love it. Now sometimes when you do this, if you don't line it up or rig up a funnel of some sort, you end up with oil going all down your skid plate, and it makes a huge mess. And this is what this Valvomax system is going to do. It's going to make this a really clean and easy and simple oil change job. And then let me show you here, if I flip this switch, it shuts the oil off, and it's going to allow me to then change bottles. Flip it back on. I am super happy with how this is going. Okay, now I know a lot of you guys are going to ask about oil change intervals. Mercedes-Benz says you can do it every 20,000 miles, and I try to do it more often than that. And recently, just this weekend, I've been talking to some other Sprinter owners, and I think I'm going to start trying to do this more about 8,000 miles. I usually would try to do it about 12 or so, and you know, as you travel around, sometimes it happens sooner, sometimes it happens later. So I think I'm going to try to get it at the 8 to 10,000 range. I think would be good. You know, it never hurts to do it sooner. Mercedes has this incredible interval of 20,000 miles for every oil change, but you know, I think if you were a very casual driver, that would probably be okay, but I think doing it sooner would be better. All right, the next step is I need to remove the oil filter. All right, so it's down here. There's a big black cap, and sometimes you need a wrench, and sometimes you can do it by hand. It feels like mine normally, when the engine is warm, it's a lot easier to bust this thing loose. So here it comes. It's good to have some paper towels on hand too. This can be a little leaky, so let's just see how it goes. So there's oil in the filter, obviously, and I'll pull it out here in a second. I'm letting it drip out. And this does, when you break this loose, it kind of relieves the vacuum and lets more oil come through. You can also open your oil filler on your engine, and that'll help the oil flow a little easier. Let's check that. All right, the flow rate has really dropped going into the jug, so I think it's about empty. And I'm going to drain the last little bit out of this filter and try to get it out without creating a mess. Let's see, I'm gonna get this paper towel in here to kind of catch oil that comes off the bottom of it, and I kind of roll it on. It's kind of for me to show you this. But boom, here's the filter right here, and you see it's kind of a cheap little paper filter, and it fits onto this spindle. And that's it. So here's your dirty one. I'm gonna set this over here so I can wrap it up in plastic and dispose of it. Okay, and then I have a brand new filter here. I was able to get this just over the counter at the auto parts store. Let's pull this out and drop that. That thing is messy. So it'll come with 2 O-rings in this plastic bag. One of them goes around here, around where it seals as you screw it on. The other one goes right here on the end of this little spindle, and it seals where it seals in the inside of the filter. So normally, you know, these are covered in grease and they're slippery. So I'm gonna use the point of my knife to get under there and to fish this old one off. Set it right there. And then do the same on this one. Once you get underneath it, it kind of breaks itself loose and it comes loose pretty easily. All right, let's get the new ones. It's always hard dealing with these bags when your hands are covered in oil and everything's a little slippery. But that's the point of oil, isn't it? To make things slippery. So I'm just gonna get it on one side, work it around, and get it on as best you can. It is a good idea to look at where these seat before you take them apart, so you get it back the same way that it started off. And sometimes it's not a bad idea to take a little oil and just rub it on there, and it kind of helps lubricate it. And then here's the little one. You can see I tore my glove, but the fingers are still good. Okay, so here's the little tiny one right there. Black on black, I don't know if you can see it, but it goes right on the end here. Boom, right there. See that? So that seals it there. The other one seals it around here. Now I can take my new oil filter and slide it on. Make sure it's on there nice and square. It'll just kind of slide on, and then I put it back on, just like I took it off. All right, you want to get that nice and tight, because you don't want that thing leaking. I'm gonna throw these away in the bag that the new ones came in. We're almost done. Okay, let's check down below. I'm looking in here. This looks like it is done draining. Well, there's a tiny little hair of oil coming out. Just tiny little drips. I'm gonna let it go just a little more, get it all out, and then I'll pull the plug and we'll put it back together. All right, it is pretty much done draining. I'm gonna pop this off. I've got the valve turned off in here, and then I'm gonna put this cap on. And then I can unscrew the adapter. Check valve closes, this is what it looks like. And then I put the cap on. And this is a multi-redundant system. Like if that check valve fails, it's got this gasketed cap on here that seals it up. This is the first time I've done an oil change with this Valvomax adapter. It makes it so easy, especially to do it in the field. So I'm happy about that. I spilled only about 6 drops of oil, and it just came out of this when I unscrewed it. I could have been a little more careful there. This is a wonderful, wonderful way to do an oil change. All right, let's see what we got here. So I've got 4 of these jugs full of old oil. Now I've got the caps on tight. They're hopefully not going to make a mess from here on. And the next step is to put our new oil in the engine. You don't want to forget this step. This is really important. Clean this out good. We don't want any dirt, any dust, anything in here other than this being completely clean. So I'm going to take a little extra time here and really clean this up. But as you can see, this is nice and clean. Now I'm going to use this to fill the engine. All right, this goes right in my filler. Okay, I have 13 quarts of brand new Mobile One ESP 5W30. That's what I'm putting in this time. And I do kind of like doing this behind an auto parts store, because if I'm a little short and I decide I need like half of one more quart, I can always run in and buy more. Now, I normally travel with at least 1 or 2 quarts in the back of the van, just in case I'm out somewhere and it gives me a low oil light. I can always add more, but it's nice being here because we got so many more resources available to you, being right at the auto parts store. Once you get it started, it's pretty good. Then you just got to make sure you don't overfill your funnel. Don't ask me how I know about that. There are better funnels for this, but you know, this is kind of a funnel I use for a lot of different things, and it travels well, but I always struggle for it to balance a little bit in here, and it doesn't hold that much, so it just forces me to go a little slower, be a little more methodical, and that's okay. I was at my dad's place. He's got a bunch of different funnels, and he has the perfect funnel for doing this. But I don't normally travel with that one. All right, looky there. There's 5 US quarts in one of these big ones. I'm gonna get every last drip of this expensive Mobile One in my engine. There it is. Okay, here's something that I recently did the math on. If I was to buy 13 of these small 1 quarts versus these larger ones, and now I had to get 13 quarts, so I really needed 2 large ones and 3 little ones. It wouldn't have helped me. I would have ended up with too much extra of getting 3 big ones. But just by getting the 2 big ones that I did, it saved me almost $60. In the cost of just the oil alone and how it was packaged. So I had to have them order this, and it took them overnight. Literally, they had it the next morning. And so I felt like saving $50 just by waiting overnight was totally worth it. Boy, this is hard to do with slippery hands with the oil in these gloves. But there, I got it open. Okay, I'm gonna need a knife to break the seal. Okay, let's do it all over again. Once you get it going, it's pretty good. It goes in pretty quick. Now I think by doing this myself, I am saving $150, if not closer to $200, depending on where you get your oil changes done. The other thing that you're gonna wanna do here is a fuel filter. You wanna replace that. And I've got one ordered, and it's gonna be waiting for me at my next stop. So I'll be doing that in about 4 or 5 days. But if you're willing to put on the rubber gloves, this is a super easy thing to do. All right, let's see, that one is empty. Okay, I've got 3 more little ones here. The hardest thing with this is these oily gloves. It feels like this quart is gonna pop out of my hands, but luckily these go really quick. Now, when you get down to the last one, I'm gonna check the oil level with my dipstick and just make sure that I'm not gonna overfill this. It's supposed to take 13 quarts, but you know, there's a little bit left in the bottom of the oil pan, and it's not an exact science. So checking with the dipstick will really let me know where we stand. In fact, let's just do that right now. Your Sprinter van might not have come with a dipstick. I added one to mine. And I thought it was insane to have a vehicle that didn't have a dipstick. You know, you just have to rely on the digital display. And I find it to be fairly accurate, but there's nothing more accurate than having a dipstick. All right, so I'm gonna pull it out. First time, you wanna just pull it out and clean it off. And then I'm gonna put it back in, and then we're gonna measure it. Okay, down the hatch it goes. Yep, and we're at the bottom of the gauge, but it's still very, very low. That makes perfect sense because we still have 2 more quarts to add. So I'm gonna add 1 more quart and then check it again, and then probably it'll take all of the last quart. I don't know, but we'll see. I've had it surprise me before, that's why I check it like this. These jugs are hard to get open. One more down the hatch. This is really so easy to do. I don't know why everybody doesn't change their own oil. I mean, some people, it's just, they don't have time for it or whatever. I get that. But I love this process because it gives me a chance to look over my engine, spend some time just really seeing if anything's going wrong in here. And that is so valuable. You can catch problems before they actually become a problem. Now, if it turns out that I need more than what I've got, I am right here at the auto parts store. So I can just walk in there and get another one. Get another quart, get 2, get 5. Hopefully I don't need 5 more. All right, let's see what it says. Yep, it's right at the bottom of good. So we're gonna put this last quart in and see how it goes. I usually will get the 13 in, start the engine, let it run. The oil circulates through the engine, and then take another reading after it's ran for just a few minutes. Sometimes even the dipstick can be off a little bit. You've just poured it in and it hasn't really circulated through. And I like doing that before I leave the auto parts store, once again, because I can go get more if I need it. All right, there is the last quart. Last drops are going in. So I'm gonna start it up. I'm gonna let it idle for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and get all that oil where it needs to go in the engine. And then I'm gonna come back and check it again with the dipstick. And I think simultaneously, I'm gonna check it with the electronic display on the dash. Sometimes it takes longer to actually register and tell me what the oil level is. So that's kind of annoying too. But the dipstick never lies. So let's do that. I'll be right back. I'm gonna start it up and let it run for a minute. Okay, engine is running. So I'm visually checking here that nothing is leaking. I'm looking around the oil filter to make sure I got that cap on nice and snug and there's nothing leaking around it. I'm gonna check under the engine back at the drain plug, make sure that's a good fit, nothing's leaking, but it's purring like a kitten, and that's pretty cool. This is your filler. If you guys haven't done this before, that's where the oil goes in. Down here, right here is the oil filter. And I'm just looking over the whole thing, make sure nothing looks weird. I think I'm gonna turn it off now and check it one last time with the dipstick and see where we stand. Okay, I got a new paper towel. Pull the dipstick, clean it off good. If you guys aren't familiar here, on the dipstick there is 2 red marks, and we want the oil to be right in between there, ideally in the middle of that silver space. So about right here. And that's how we know it's where it wants to be. I usually like taking it all the way to the top of the red and getting it all the way full. But the problem with that is you got to be kind of careful because you don't want to overfill a diesel engine. There's a lot of pressure in here and they don't like to have too much oil. But if you can see that there, let's see if you can see that. The oil line is right about here. And that's about where we want it. So I think I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna make sure I have a quart or 2 with me. And then as I drive the next 100 miles, if I want to check it again, or if it's a little lower, if it's not quite all the way to the top, it'll give me the ability to just add a little bit and top it off. That's basically it. I go through now with the same paper towel and just wipe down any of the little bits of oil that got spilled, you know, changing the filter and doing the dipstick. It seems like always a little bit gets on your engine, and try to wipe that up as good as I can. And we're ready to go. So there it is. Maybe in another video, I will show you guys how to do a fuel filter. That is a little more complicated because you got to remove the air box and do a couple of things. And it's really easy if you have one special tool, but it's something all of you guys can do. I have faith in you. I know you can do this. So maybe look for that video coming in the near future. But I think for now, I'm going to enjoy being in Moab, Utah. And I feel good knowing there's fresh oil in the engine. So until then, I hope I see you somewhere over the horizon. Take care, guys. I'm out of here.